3, 2, 1. Liver shot. How's it going, buddy?
It's going well. It is.
Man.
Episode 8 is going to be our final episode. We'll talk to that about that, but it is Monday, May 6th. It's been a few weeks since we talked, so we missed the fight night in St. Petersburg, fight night in Sunrise, and now this fight night in Ottawa, Canada. All three turned out to be pretty good cards. I'd say the biggest surprise for sure was the first one in St. Petersburg, which was headlined by Alistair Overeem and Alexei Oleinik. We're going to start there. Alistair Overeem looked pretty good. He just outclassed Alexei Oleinik. He was really, I mean, he got caught one time, but other than that, he seemed to be never worried.
Yeah, Overeem's come into where he's not the Ubereem back in the day when USADA wasn't around, to where he could just go in and throw punches, get aggressive. He plays that defense. He bides his time. He kind of takes time. And I think that's what he did with Oleinik, is he didn't want to get on the ground or in a grapple with him early, but even though he did, he still was fine. He took his time. He didn't get gassed. I think he played a great game, and I just think Oleinik has been around a long time, but that's just a different caliber fighter.
Yeah, I had these fantasies of Oleinik getting a hold of him and choking him like he's been doing to guys, but Alistair Overeem is just a next-level fighter. He really is. He did get clipped. I thought there was a second where Alexei was going to really take advantage of that. But other than that, he was winding up, or Oleinik was winding up for big punches that didn't seem to be hurting him that bad. He had some huge knees.
Non-stop knees.
Yeah, it almost got to the end. It was like he wanted the fight to get stopped, not because he thought he was going to lose, just because he didn't want to do more damage to him. He took a lot of damage.
He probably took 10 knees that were all, from a guy that size. Now,
Overeem's huge.
Overeem has got a lot behind that. Now, Alexei threw a lot of good body shots to Overeem, but he didn't seem to really be affected. He waited his time. He got up against the cage. He took his time. And then once he figured out that he could get his knee up that high, that's his whole game plan. To the chest, to the knee, out of the grapple. He was throwing it out of the clinch. All he wanted to do was just make enough damage to drop him so he could finish him on the ground.
Yeah, if you remember, these were the bets that Dave and I placed. I on Alexei Oleinik and Dave on Alistair Overeem. And it got about 15 seconds into the fight, and I was like, damn it. Because you could tell. I mean, you really could tell Alistair, it wasn't hurting him, and he was not worried. He was not worried about whatever Alexei had.
I think that was the first time that... I wouldn't say for Alexei only, but he didn't have the advantage of, if I get on the ground at all and I get a hold of you, it's over. It's not a Damian Maia situation. Like, Overeem's like, no, I have the background, and I've also been a Grand Prix champion. By the way, I'm 260 pounds and very strong even at 40. So that was a great big win for Alistair. It puts his name back into where positive instead of everyone. I hate that everybody sits there with the Francis knockout and that's him.
Nah.
No. Alistair's not going anywhere.
Everyone knows
everybody gets caught, and especially in the heavyweight division. You talk to anybody. Nobody's not been caught before. It just depends on if you can wake up from it or not. So, yeah, that was that was just an absolute great finish to that card. And already some exciting other stuff in the card.
Yeah, like we said, it was to me the most surprising card because it started out with fireworks. It ended with fireworks. A lot of fights that didn't have a lot of star name power ended up being very entertaining fights. We go back to the beginning. It started out with a knockout in the first round. Magomed Mustafayev, followed that by a knockout in the first, knockout cold, not a TKO in the first round, by Oleksiejczuk. And that's 2 knockouts in a row very recently from him in the light heavyweight division. I think that was maybe one of my bigger takeaways from that card. He is going to have the momentum that Thiago Santos and Anthony Smith had in this light heavyweight division, it seems like. I think maybe Khalil Roundtree had previously beat him, but he's coming off these 2 huge knockouts. Both of them were on the new platform. I think they both got seen. I guess the St. Petersburg card was one of the lesser viewed, but I think it was going up against March Madness too. So not the best move.
Yeah, besides needing Rosetta Stone to speak and say any of these guys' names, this is a card one that was midday on a Saturday, which I love for me because I can watch it, not have to stay up till 2 in the morning. And by the way, these fights went fast because you had so many big bodies.
Yeah, it did go fast. If you watched it afterwards, you could watch through it real quick. You could
cruise, and that's what was nice is like watching it live. Like there were so many big bodies in lightweight and heavyweight, a lot of knockouts, a lot of activity. But even on the lower end, on the featherweight, and then the women's obviously flyweight. I tell you one that I was shocked about was Roxanne.
Yeah.
I really did not see Roxanne's style matching up very well with who she went against, and I think the biggest thing on it is Roxanne played a little bit of a different game. I think she went in and she goes, I'm not going to give up, because Shevchenko I thought would be way more aggressive, but the technical ground, the keeping her from standing on the feet that Roxanne did, she basically made sure that none of the big things that she could do in any other fights she could do. Now, granted, we talked about before, Shevchenko didn't fight a lot there for a while.
Oh,
she's an older fighter. Even though Roxanne is, I think Roxanne's experience came in a ton in that fight.
Yeah, this is Antonina's first loss as a professional. I just think that this is like, there was so much pressure on her for this fight.
It had to
be. Her sister is the champion.
Yep.
This is like, she's one of the stars of this card. Yeah.
Might have got to her.
I think there was a lot of pressure. She's fighting a fighter that's ranked ahead of her on top of all this stuff. That's a lot of pressure. It seemed like she wasn't loose, I guess is where I was.
Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of damage Roxanne took, but that's Roxanne's game. She took the elbows. She took the punches. She just kept coming forward. She never stopped coming forward. She never looked hurt or just like, okay, I've done this 6 times in a row and I get 2 hooks and a jab and I can't get inside to get her on the ground. No, she kept coming and coming and coming. And that's what I think, that's why she just dominated the fight. She was just shocking them on her pressure.
What do you think about the co-main event with Islam? I've been wanting to see Islam fight.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a good matchup for both guys. I really was expecting Islam to win. I didn't know much about Arman Sarkian.
No.
I'm not sure how to say it, but he looked good against
He did look
Islam.
sharp.
I don't think there's going to be too many people wanting to fight him. He's an unranked guy who just lost, but he looked strong. He's great grappling. Islam just had a little bit too much for him.
Yep.
But it was one of the few fights in this card that went to a decision, but it was still a fantastic fight.
I think it showed the skills, definitely, and I think, honestly, there was a lot of leg kicks out the gate from both guys. Everything that they were trying to do was setting something up, which I love to see, because I'm going to beat the legs up and I'm going to set up a takedown, or I'm going to keep body shots so I can go high kick. A lot of good transitions on the ground. That's what I remember seeing over and over again, is these guys were transitioning in and out of potential subs, guillotines, and then actively standing up in the second round. Bunch of kicks again, because I think all one of them was waiting for is to clip somebody, get them off their game, either take them down or attempt that sub again. And I think more significant strikes, and by the way, 4 out of 9 takedowns by Islam, the pressure was just there. It was there the whole time. So, yeah, for a decision card, that definitely made that guy's name probably known a little bit more. As far as on the UFC side, like Sean Shelby's probably looking for a fun fight for him now.
Yeah,
honestly.
I honestly think it might be tough to find one.
Yeah, in that weight class, and let alone just in general right now, I mean, you got so many hungry guys that these guys will fight anybody. So these guys are like, well, I don't want somebody coming in my house and showing me up just because this guy's fighting for tooth and nail.
There's not a whole lot to gain from fighting.
No, and by the way, the lightweight division,
it's deep. So yeah, but I want to see them both fight again as soon as possible. I don't think they took insane amount. It did go to the distance, but it was a lot of grappling, not a striking match. So. Yeah,
which most people, to the average viewer, is they see that like, this is a boring fight. It's like, that was a high level fight for that gentleman who was not a ranked fighter. Mm-hmm. So again, that's going to really put his name out there to show he's not just throwing bombs and hoping they stick.
You think Islam fights a ranked fighter next?
He could. I mean, there's, top 15, there's a ton of good guys. I think you're right, though. I don't think anybody's going to want to take a chance. I think he fights a guy that's just under 15, maybe a 16, 17, maybe even an 18 guy, and then get him in there. Because, again, like you said, this is a tough card for people to latch on the names because they don't know them. They're overseas guys. This is a card midday. This card at nighttime might have been a little different.
If this was...
you know what I'm saying?
This same card, but like with a name on it that people cared about. Not during the championships of the Final Four would have been a great card.
Yes.
It was
it's
a
just
fun
timing
card.
Like anything else.
But yeah, it's also a card that heavily featured Russians, so it's not a whole lot of people to get behind. But back to the prelims, Marcin Tybura got knocked out in the second round. That was the third knockout of the 3 consecutive knockouts to start the day
I didn't see that coming with him. I thought he would have stuck his ground.
It was a back and forth fight.
And I know it's a heavyweight fight, and anything can happen with the big hands and the big bodies, but I thought with his experience with some bigger fighters, even though he's had some tougher matchups, I thought that he would play a little smarter game. I think he just did, like you said, they just kept trading, and then finally somebody was put down, and unfortunately it was him. Because the first round, anybody could have been out.
Yeah.
I was amazed.
It made it to the second round.
Yes.
It could have ended any time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what we kept talking about in the last podcast is that card had so many big boys from lightweight to heavyweight that is why it went fast, and that's also why it's entertaining because somebody turns that on.
A lot of heavyweights.
There's a lot of people getting put out, potentially, on paper at least.
Yeah. Back to that main event.
Yeah.
What do you think Alistair Overeem does now? I mean, we talked about how it was a great win for him. Alexei Oleinik was a highly ranked opponent. His initial fight was supposed to be against Alexander Volkov, who dropped out. We haven't heard anything about it, which makes me believe that it's like a Sean O'Malley situation where he tested for something, but they aren't saying anything until they decide they've gone through the process.
They're going through the process.
And what the suspension is, because we haven't heard anything about him. Alistair said he still wants to fight him.
I think that's the right call because that's still a big new name. You know, he's only had his loss to Derek Lewis that we've talked about a million times. That was 1 second left in the round. So this guy could have been on the other end of that and won by decision, and he could be a way higher ranked guy fighting, JDS or Curtis Blades or whoever else. I think it makes sense. They just need to figure out when they can do it. I don't know if they can get it done in time for fight week because, Alistair has no problems with any injuries after that. He's not having a very long medical suspension, obviously.
Yeah.
Volkov, I think everything works out. I don't see why you wouldn't. I mean, it's a fun fight for everybody. And again, ton on the line for Alistair and a ton on the line for Volkov, especially since he had to drop out.
Yeah. That's definitely the fight I want to see the most.
Yes.
Curtis Blades just beat Alistair. Everyone else is in a fight that's ranked up there.
I think as far as for the
Derek
fans.
Lewis is out for a while.
Yes.
So, that's the fight to make. I just, like you, I'm not sure when Alexander Volkov is going to be available to play. I mean, we haven't heard anything about it. I wouldn't mind seeing Kane fight him. If Kane fighting,
wants
but he's doing wrestling stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. If Kane might do another, let's take a year off and do my thing.
There's really nobody else up there.
This is another log jam, and it's amazing that this is a log jam division that we're having to they are having to beg guys probably behind the scenes to get fights because Alexei and Alistair made sense, but once it happens that way, now you're just standing in the line you were already in, and there's nobody in front of you asking you to come in. I mean, the Derek Lewis hurts. Yeah, I don't think the Curtis Blades fight UFC is going to want to do because it just happened a while ago.
Yeah. There's really no one. There's no one that's going to make.
And there's no benefit.
That's good for Alistair to fight.
There's no benefit to Alistair because he fights anyone below him, below Kane. It's not anybody that's going to do anything in the division. So in Justin Willis right now,
coming off a loss,
we're getting ready to talk about him.
Coming off a loss.
He just got called out. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, this is another example of there's not enough mixing down low to be contenders.
Right.
There's too many contenders, 10 up. Yeah, you're just trading the same names. So yeah.
Yeah, I really think Volkov's the only fight that makes sense. It's just I hope it can happen.
Yep.
April 27th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, there was a card headlined by Jacare and Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson stepped in for Yoel Romero on short notice. I think it was like 2 weeks.
Talk about an opportunity.
He is recently coming off a first round victory over David Branch, and stepped in to fight Jacare, who's one of the best middleweight fighters in the world, and worked him. He beat him 4 of the 5 rounds for sure.
Made him look like he hadn't been in the ring in a while.
I mean, he looked so good. He took down Jacare 3 times. I think in the UFC, Jacare's only been ever taken down once ever. And I think at one point in his career, he was taken down twice in the same fight. Definitely never 3 times in a fight. He struck well against them. The 3rd round, Jacare really got the better of him on the feet. But outside of that, Jack Hermanson looked so good.
Well, and that
he's up at the top now.
He did exactly what he needed to do, and at the same time is you know that Souza's going to do something to him. He's going to put something on him. He's not going to go in there and just be a limp noodle. the sheer pressure of Jack, and for whatever, his guillotine that they always talk about, he does a lot of crazy different submissions. He's got a bunch of pressure. I think that he bought his time. He knew how to score the points. He knew how to make rounds score the points. And, I hate to say it, 39-year-old Souza kind of showed up that night. I think a younger fighter that's hungry as shit, had a huge opportunity put in front of him, took advantage of it, did exactly which in a fairy tale that you'd hope to see, and he did. And you know what? Congrats to him, because you know what? If he would have lost, that's a big knock to that division to say, look, you're not just going to come up here because you're on a streak, like what people thought about Israel might have happened, and it didn't. Jack's in a similar position as Israel right now.
Yeah.
Different style, obviously different marketing. People
still running through the division.
Still running through people. And by the way, you just beat a guy that's been calling for a title shot. Okay, well, let's go. You're next in line. This is where you show up. And, it's going to be exciting because, again, it's a new name. This is a new guy to talk about and see. Whether he wins or loses, this is a new name.
Yeah, and he's fun. He's definitely very good.
Yes.
He's skilled all over the place. He did not look like he had a weakness. Jacare definitely hit way harder. You could tell his strikes meant more. But I think Hermansson had the better timing. I think when Jacare was looking to take him down, he would throw good kicks, good knees during those times. Kind of discouraged Jacare from getting back to those situations, and I think his timing on those few instances ended up playing a big deal. He didn't look like he had too many weaknesses, so I think that he has a big opportunity here, and he's going to be matched up against the top guy. He's calling out Yoel, Calvin Gastelum, and Chris Weidman.
I like the Gastelum fight for him better than Yoel right now. One, as a fan, I think there's too many good fights to make with Yoel with more explosive guys. But
that Paulo Costa fight might be doomed like Tony Ferguson, Khabib. But I'd like to give it one more try.
I'm always going to put it in the deck.
Yeah, I'd like to give it one more try.
Yeah. No, but something that I was interested about Jack is he had a very similar thing that happened with this Thiago Santos fight. He got knocked out like a lot of guys did, like Anthony Smith. He didn't run up to lightweight. He didn't decide to drop off the planet. After that, he got his sub game in. He got all of these big wins and, going over Meerschaert and then David Branch and then now Ronaldo. Okay, let's move on up to where you should be. All of it's fallen in line, but that Santos loss, how many guys have been knocked out by him and you don't hear anymore, they moved to a new division? I kind of think it's cool that he stayed in the division. I think it makes sense with Gastelum. They're right there ranked. Gastelum's coming off a big loss to Israel, had a hell of a fight. So obviously both of them are fighting the highest level guys. Luke Rockhold's gone like we talked about. Yoel, let's hope the Costa fight happens. Have that, and then guess what? God, whoever wins either of those, let's go.
I'd rather see him fight Chris Weidman, I think.
Yeah, but the problem is Chris Weidman going to take a fight.
Oh, Chris Weidman wants this fight.
I hope, because that's what I'm saying. But Chris Weidman's also said that before and drug his feet, and there's been other stuff that can get in the mix. Who knows, somebody could get hurt or anything else.
Yeah.
I know I always talk about, but we need to get these fights lined up when we can, especially with guys that are healthy. I don't think Jack took a ton of damage. He got clipped like anybody else. It was a long fight. I get it.
I don't think anything super severe.
I don't think it's anything where we need to wait 6 months to see him back to the octagon. I think we get him.
Actually, I don't know how. I thought I heard how long he did want to take some time off, but I don't.
He wanted to be with the family. He said he wanted to do the family, and that's not 6 months.
Yeah.
So, but again, guy that took a huge opportunity, man. I love to see it. He took gold when he needed to find it. I feel bad for Souza because, now you got everyone talking about the retirement and all that type of stuff.
You think he fights more?
I think he does. I don't think he does the retirement. I think he needs to take time, be with his family, regroup. Hell, get him and Weidman fighting again. Let's do something with that.
Well, someone who hasn't fought him yet. I'd like to see him like someone in the bottom half of the division.
Well,
the bottom half of the ranked fight division.
The problem is, a lot of stuff could change. But now Derek.
I think
we're going to talk about Derek later here.
That's a great to him, but
but Derek's also been on a very rough patch here lately with his losses, so that's a perfect matchup time because probably other guys are going to get matched up before Souza gets an offer on something. Mm-hmm. Derek's coming off a win, so which we're going to get in that here later, but the main card and then obviously the main fight. Yikes.
So leading up to that, Mike Perry and Alex Oliveira was the fight I was looking the most.
You're so excited for it. You're so excited.
I don't. I was expecting more, but it was a great fight.
No, it was. I mean, do we expect a knockout in the first and someone to be not waking up? Yeah, but they did not throw bombs and just throw everything in the can the whole time. I mean, good Lord, Alex Oliveira dislocated his toe.
It was a fantastic fight.
And walked over the sideline, had him pop it back in and came out. That guy takes so much damage.
And everything about the fight was fun. Even before the fight started, when they were both dancing together.
Mike Perry coming out.
Everything about it was fun, man.
Mike Perry's wife's dancing in the background. Like, it was an exciting fight. As usual, guys
Good
both
energy.
in, just happy, excited to fight. Good for Mike, man, because that's a big win for him.
He needed a win.
And, Alex, the thing about Alex is, man, nobody's not going to book him because he's so entertaining, win or lose.
And actually, I heard on the broadcast that since his first fight in the UFC, no one's had more fights in the UFC. He's been the most active fighter since he joined the UFC.
Wow. And that's next to Cowboy, who was in the welterweight division.
Yeah.
I mean, and think how active he was.
Yeah. So I hope that keeps up. I mean, I don't think that this is going to be. I mean, this wouldn't be a career breaker for either of them.
No.
Anyone that's looking to make a name for themselves, an entertaining fighter, is going to be a good matchup against Alex Oliveira. Mike Perry called out Darren Till. I think that's a bit
little
of a stretch.
ambitious.
I hope Darren Till doesn't even fight welterweight anymore.
Well, they've always gone back and forth ever since the Darren Till fight. When he knocked out Cowboy, he was mouthing off at Mike Perry, and then they kind of became friends, and then all this. That's an entertaining as hell fight on paper and just physically. That's a terrible matchup for Perry, especially after Till just getting laid out.
Yeah.
Now, thing is though, what did I say last time? Till came off the loss to Woodley. I thought he would come out with fire in his eyes to put away Masvidal. He tried to, and he did a hell of a job at it, but still got laid out on the gurney later. He can either come out and go 10 times better than he's fought before, or he could get into a lull and Mike could take an advantage. But I don't think at all Mike Perry should be fighting anybody that high up.
No way. No way.
I honestly think for Mike,
if he could get anyone that's ranked, it'd be good for him.
They need a ranked fighter that's fun, and I know it's a little aggressive right now because we're just looking on paper, but the Neil Magny fight with Luque would have been perfect, but besides that, I don't see anybody in the lower 15 that's exciting for Mike Perry.
The winner of that fight would be
would be perfect because I sure as hell do not want him fighting Damian Maia. Leon Edwards,
looking for a fight.
Leon Edwards is looking for a fight regardless, but I don't think Mike Perry's going to get a top 10.
Gunnar Nelson? That's a big name.
And Gunnar Nelson just lost.
For both of them.
Well, especially since Gunnar's got a completely different style and Mike loves to throw bombs, and Gunnar's unfortunately not done well with that, but Gunnar did well with Alex and beat Alex and choked him out after crushing his skull in with an elbow.
Yeah.
So there's a perfect matchup of you fought a style guy like this, I fought a style guy like this, let's see if we can do it again. Yeah. I think that'd be great.
I think that would be a good fight. I think both of them have a big enough name that would be a good fight to make.
That's two huge names. People love watching Perry. Plus, everyone knows Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson right now could have 2 more wins on his record, and we wouldn't even talking about him on that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a perfect fight for them. It's just, I think Mike calling out Darren Till is a little much. But he's jacked up.
Yeah,
he's jacked up about it.
Not getting that one.
So we got to bring it up, man. I know you wanted to skip it, but because we don't want to talk about it too early. But the Greg Hardy fight.
Oh no, that's where I'm going next.
No, I don't mean skipping it. Talking about it is so many people wanted to talk about that first thing on this card, which makes 0 sense to me with obviously Hermanson and everything. But you tell me your opinion on that coming out the gate. We already talked about that card shouldn't have been where it was. But let's talk about the outcome.
It was. They made it very clear that it was like a demonstration for Greg Hardy. I mean, that guy had no business being. He got hit like one time, and I had never been hit by Greg Hardy. I never would be hit by Greg Hardy, but he got hit one time, and he decided this was not for him. He didn't want any part of that fight. As soon as he got hit again, he went down until the ref stopped it. And I don't say I blame him, but you shouldn't be getting paid to be the co-main event of a big fight card like this when there are like real fighters who are going to die out there or willing to die out there
and want to fight guys like Greg Hardy to put them away. Yeah. What we said before. This guy's freaking nickname was the Lifeguard. He came out.
Dimitri?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
His name's the Lifeguard. He came out. He was a giant body, big dude, whatever. He was so hesitant and looked so scared. Even when they were announcing his name with Bruce Buffer, I'm like, this guy is scared out of his mind. And most of these guys are, but they don't show it. And then on top of it, didn't land one punch, didn't try even a half-assed takedown, And then Mike Hardy said, oh, so you're just going to be a golf tee right now. I'm just going to swing as many times and put you in another planet.
So, like, as much as you'd think a win would help Greg Hardy, this was like a win that we saw nothing from him. So
no, because
it really doesn't help much.
Because everybody saw you could not even be an average fan and know right away that guy had no business being in there with Greg Hardy.
Yeah.
And I don't blame the fans. I don't blame anyone for booing him. You know what? After the DQ, whether it was on purpose or not, that showed the UFC was basically giving a platter out and said, Mike, eat as much as you want off of it, and then we'll move on to the next because we don't want to let you go because we've invested too much in you. Well, if you're going to do that then, let's get somebody that's a top 15 and let's really see what happens with Greg Hardy because he's obviously not going anywhere now.
Yeah, if he wants, I'd say throw him to the wood. I mean, you don't have to get him against the fucking best guys in the world, but
no.
How about the first fight on this card? Augusto Sakai beat Andrei Arlovsky. What about someone like him? I think he's now ranked.
He's 15. I was actually looking at him because, whether Arlovsky's in his 40s or not, the sheer fact to go up against him and to make it 3 rounds and not be getting cleaned up off the floor and then at the same time win by decision, I thought that was a terrific performance. Arlovsky was on the 15th, spot anyway, teetering. He replaced him in the spot. There's a perfect guy for Hardy because that could have potentially been Hardy if he wouldn't have got that DQ. He could have gotten a fight that big.
Yeah.
So I think that's a terrific fight to have for him. I think also, though, you got to get a fighter like we talked about earlier that would want to take the risk to fight a guy like Hardy because in that division, what we just talked about, there's a bunch of guys from 15 up to 9 that want to fight right now. But everybody at the top either is not fighting or they already have something lined up.
Now there's stuff lined up.
So, taking a risk. Now, here's another guy. Tibur just came off that loss. I don't know if he's going to drop out of the top 15. He may. He's been up and down. That would be a pretty good fight for Hardy to say, hey, look, this is a little higher caliber guy. He's been actively fighting in the UFC. He's had wins in the UFC. Let me fight somebody like him. I just think that we got to get a reality check for everybody, including myself.
There's nothing to scale this on. I mean,
I want to get a reality check myself to say, okay, if Greg Hardy comes in and proves me wrong and lays out somebody in the top 13 or bottom 13 to 15, then I won't say anything. I'll say, okay, you deserve to be here. But everything that I've seen coming up to it, especially the Dana White Contender Series, you let him fight 3 times there, okay. Everybody in the Dana White Contender Series is trying to get into the UFC, so they're on the same tier block as Greg Hardy, whether he punches harder, his background, or anything. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see how quick and who they try to line him up with.
Yeah, hopefully something that's going to tell us about him.
Yeah.
What do you think of the John Lineker-Corey Sandhagen fight?
I'd be honest with you, I think John Lineker did everything perfect like he normally does, and I think Sandhagen just literally played a great game and threw a ton of shit, did not look scared at him. And honestly, I mean...
Got rocked a few times, but always
No,
recovered.
he did, but that's what I'm saying is Lineker threw Lineker winds up on everything. He is locked and loaded, coiled like a snake, throws that hook, that body hook, cross the face double combos, pieced him up several times. Sandhagen just took him, ate him, and kept going. And I think that's what it was, is Lineker is used to when that punch touches somebody, they are out or they just can't keep going.
Yeah, I thought, Corey Sandhagen obviously looked good. It's tough to beat John Lineker. He didn't look dominant.
No.
But he definitely did enough to win, I thought.
Yes.
He had a goofy style. It was funny. They were talking about he was trying to model off Dominic Cruz, and as soon as they said that, I was like, you know what? I do see a lot of Dominic Cruz movement in there.
And Dominic even was like, I see a little bit of it.
Yeah,
like, because you don't want to.
He looks like he's a quick winner. Right?
Well, you don't want to throw out your style, but no, I think honestly, a monster win, but I kind of felt bad for John a lot because I knew he was throwing everything in the tank, fighting like he normally does. He just was not able to put the guy doan. He was a tough son of a bitch, and I think that's what came down to it.
Then it's choking him out the end, and all the blood came out of his nose.
That blood come out of his nose all over John's chest and stuff, and he even said, he goes, man,
crazy.
He's like, were you close to coming out? He goes, it depended on how much longer he was going to hold on. But yeah, at the same time, he could have finished that fight that way. I mean, I liked a lot of those fights with guys that they took opportunities again. I mean, whether you were ranked or not, I think, a fight like that, there's a new name for that division. And same thing that we've talked about before, I don't think that hurts John. I know it's a guy that wasn't ranked, you know.
Doesn't hurt him a bunch.
It doesn't hurt him a bunch.
He has another win away probably, but he's still up there.
Well, the thing about it is John has had some really big wins, and John's had some other wins that, you know, should have won, maybe just like this one. But I think he's an entertaining fighter, and he's a name in there that it makes complete sense to keep him in the mix and see if he can jump back and be somebody. And
he's going to keep getting fights against top guys.
Sandhagen, good Lord, sky's the limit now.
Yeah. I was thinking he's going to need to test. Peter Yan is fighting Jimmy Rivera.
Yeah,
maybe the winner of that.
That's a good call.
And I think that fight's 238, so a little bit out, but that might work for both of them. Some of these guys up here are fighting or very inactive.
Well, it's another division like that. I mean, you know, and Sandhagen has been active. You know, he's on a 6-fight winning streak, so this is another guy that is a new name that people can latch onto. There's a ton of guys above him that have been losing. You know, a Cody Garbrandt fight with him, I'd love to see. I think that's a great matchup. Maybe even jump him a little higher just because, you know, Dominic Cruz hurts us a lot. And, you know, obviously we got Pedro that just beat Cody, so he wants a bigger fight. Aljamain.
I think those guys fight
Morales
each other.
is already getting ready to fight. Yeah, so I mean, you got a lot of guys already lined up. But yeah, I like that Peter Yan. Peter fights very similar. He's very tight.
Jimmy Rivera and Peter Yan, the winner of that one.
Yeah, I think that would be a great one to see on the outcome. Yeah, I don't think Cody's going to take anybody below him, even though there's some good fights. I mean, Rob Font's another name I want to see get back in there. I don't know, man. I mean, that's a big win for me because I thought John Lineker was going to start doing some dangerous things in that division because I like the way he fight. He's balls to the wall, and he was.
Goes down.
He did nothing wrong in that fight. That's what everybody said. He played his exact game that Lineker always plays. He didn't end up putting the guy away.
Corey got outpointed him for 3 rounds.
He did outpoint him. I think he realized that he could touch him up more and stay safe.
Yeah. Get
in, get out, and stay safe. Kind of what Peter Yan did. Peter Yan did the same thing, yeah. I tell you another one that I wanted to get in on that. That Gilbert Burns fight versus Mike Davis that was earlier in the prelims. I like that fight because those guys were throwing massive leg kicks all over each other. That was a lightweight fight, so these are guys that are trying to get their name out there. I don't know. I just saw a ton of shots and just a ton of aggressiveness in that earlier that fight that was earlier in the prelims there that I was like, here's some more new blood, man. And these guys, like, you know, they looked aggressive. They looked like they wanted to go in there and just murder each other. They reminded me a lot of Max Griffin. Fast leg kicks, tempting submissions, getting on top of you, trying to hold you down. And getting a sub, I thought that was awesome just for, 2 new guys to come in there and basically brawl it out to say, hey, here's our chance to move. 2 unranked guys. I mean, the prelims had a lot of action. I mean, I know we're going from obviously the main card, but I thought that was another fight with, guys that took advantage of when they needed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were some good fights in the prelims. We talked about Andrei Arlovsky. What do you think Andrei Arlovsky does from now here?
Yeah, that's hard because, Augusto's basically replacing him at 15.
He's so old. I mean, he used to be...
I think he goes to Bellator.
Top 5. Yeah.
I think he goes to Bellator. I think he's going to go join a lot of the, as we would call them, old-timers that'll get signed by Coker over there, and I think he fights 3 or 4 times over there. Probably does kind of a Fedor style, and then probably retires. I don't know if the UFC wants to hang on to him anymore just because of the name.
Yeah, it seems like
it's tough.
He's coming off, lost to Tuivasa, lost to Abdurakhimov, lost to Walt Harris.
Yeah, even though it was overturned because Walt got popped by USADA.
His last win was against Stefan Struve. It's been...
And the thing is, he's been active, so it's not like he's been sitting around waiting for a good fight.
He wants to fight 5 more years.
He wants to fight. I just don't know if the UFC is going to want to carry around a heavyweight right now with 4 losses in a row.
They
can, though, but how many young guns come in just like Augusto did and put an old guy away that was a name at one point? There's somebody else that could do that to somebody else in that division, so...
Don't put him up against Greg Hardy. I don't want to see that.
Fuck no. I do not want to see someone be flatlined and lose their career.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. Do you see Rochester get another win?
Yes.
2 subs in a row now.
Needed it, man. He's got the black belt on the ground, man. The guy's not about just throwing bombs. I love it.
Yeah, so that's his 2nd consecutive sub. He's last 2 losses are Corey Anderson and Alex Gustafsson.
And that's no slouch.
I'm thinking, maybe the winner of Ilir Latifi and Vulcan.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
You know, the problem with, he's another one that's always right on the cusp in that light heavyweight division to be in a big place. You know, he lost to Gustafsson. If he would have won that, he'd been right in contention. He's gone. He's yo-yoed a lot.
Oh, yeah, he's one fight away.
I just think the thing that helps him, honestly, is his name. I mean, I besides loving to watch him fight, some of the losses he's had, now he's on the 2-fighter, but I mean, he went back and forth against guys that weren't really ranked that high. So, I mean, Corey Anderson, I don't take a lot in. I mean, we'll get into it.
Corey Anderson's good.
I think Corey Anderson's really good. I think the reason that it's not a huge win in the UFC is because Corey Anderson's style is not flashy. He just wants to win. He doesn't care how he wins. And we've already talked about with the OSP knockout, that shouldn't have happened. And he said it shouldn't have happened. So I think Glover, you know, gets into, like you said, gets into some of these Ilir Latifi, Volkan winners. He's right there, man. I mean, he wants to keep fighting. He just because everybody, you know, he even said, he goes, yeah, the old guy can still get it done. I mean, he's subbing guys that are in 260s on the ground.
I'd like to see him go against Johnny Walker, but another who the hell knows when Johnny Walker's coming back?
Well, apparently he had shoulder surgery. He did have.
So who knows when he's coming back?
Apparently, though, it's going well. But apparently is the word because you never know until you see the guy actually active and fight on a celebration. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I want to throw Glover to the alleged wolves of Johnny Walker because that is a scary fight to me. Because you saw what Gustafsson did with the uppercuts. Johnny Walker just wants to throw hands. He's not about being tactical.
I know. That's I want to see what Johnny Walker does. The next step up when someone knows he's coming.
I don't know. Maybe
I think Johnny Walker's got a lot to show.
Why wouldn't you let him, go against Blachowicz, who just came off a loss here? Now I know it's been a minute since he's fought, but that's a good fight for him because for Glover.
Well, because Blachowicz fighting Luke in July, right?
That's right. Yeah, I keep forgetting that. It's almost already. Yeah, that's true. So, but if he loses, I mean, he could fall into it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
that's
maybe
2 months out.
Yeah, see, that's the problem, man. Yeah, the Volkan scheduled there with the I mean, yeah, it's a waiting game. It's a great win for Glover. I mean, now he's going to be chomping at the bit to fight somebody, and everybody's going to fight is top ranked like he has been. So it's going to make sense.
Yeah, Jimmy Manuwa is also fighting in June. Maybe if he gets a win. That's a good fight.
He needs a win, buddy. He needs a win bad.
Yeah, he does.
I'm sorry, but I'm glad they're still booking him because he's one knockout away from people being like, all right, he's still here, and he's fun to watch. He throws hands. I mean, that's another guy that I know I dog on him that, he's had a bunch of losses, but he's at least entertaining. His losses, are him getting KO'd, so he's at least putting the effort in. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, that's just how it is.
You got any other takeaways from that Fort Lauderdale card?
Well, I hate to say it for my buddy Ben Saunders, but everybody said it. Your chin's gone, man. He got laid the fuck out. Yeah. Takashi looked great. Granted, it's a weathered Ben Saunders, but that knockout and those elbows from the top split open both of his fucking eyes. And I mean, Saunders had no idea where he was. I'm like, that's a new name. That's a good. He's fast. He's all over, and I mean, I like that. Very deep division. Yeah, and I'm not going to say anything about that this guy's going to come in and who he's going to fight next. I just think going in and putting away a guy like that has been around a long time and seen a lot of fighters, it was a badass knockout, man, the welterweight.
Yeah, that's a great win. And that was the main event of the prelims, I believe. So,
Florida had a good card, man, and they had a lot of homeboys. I mean, you had Mike Perry there getting all wild. I mean, between the Jack Hermanson, again, this is another card between Jack, even though it went to decision, you had the Greg Hardy knockout, you had the Mike Perry and Alex bloodbath trading just everything in the bank, Glover getting the sub, Corey shocking the world against John. There wasn't a bad fight on the main card, and they all showed, I mean, even Roosevelt Roberts, I like that guy coming out of Dana White's Contender Series. I'm not going to get on the bandwagon like a lot of people are. He's very, very skinny, very lean for that division. I don't know how long a body type in the lightweight like that. We saw this weekend with Cowboy that you got to be a bigger, muscular dude. He's a very lean. He's almost a featherweight. That guy's going to be tested here soon. So that was about the only fight that not that I wasn't impressed. I was kind of like, yeah, this happened. He beat him pretty easily through it. So besides that, that was a fun card to watch. I mean, it was very interesting.
Yeah, the big takeaway obviously is Jack Hermansson.
God,
the new player in the welterweight division. They're all new fights for him, which is good because the top of the welterweight division was kind of middleweight division was getting kind of stale with fighters that had already fought each other.
Yeah,
and now we got a new phase to.
It's just a revolving door, and we talked about we don't want to see that because people don't like that. They don't want to see all this the third time these guys fought. It looks great, when they put out the commercials, but for people like us, it's like, shit, man, how many more times are we going to do this?
So this past weekend, just 2 days ago, UFC Fight Night, Ottawa, Canada.
Finally caught up to reality here.
Headlined by Donald Cerrone and Al Iaquinta. Great fight. Went all the way to decision. That was different from the other cards we've been talking about. Almost all of these fights went to decision.
Yeah.
This was a long card. But this fight here was incredibly entertaining throughout. We were talking earlier, I thought Cerrone's Thai boxing has just looked as good as it ever has.
He's always had it. He came in with his game plan. He always scares me because he's very flat-footed when he comes out. He starts slow. He doesn't have a lot of head movement. Al is a headhunter when he can. But Al got in there, and you saw the size difference and the reach difference. He
looked like a much bigger fighter.
It gave Al a ton of trouble because Al had to get inside and throw punches, and he landed many on the Cowboy. Trust me, Al won being tougher than fucking nails. He took a ton of damage. I mean, that front kick, it was Vitor.
Both of them dropped him.
Yeah. It was Vitor Belfort style coming off Anderson Silva, and he got right back up, but I mean, he was bloodied and battered, but he kept coming. Cowboy...
Never been KO'd, still.
Cowboy laid so many fucking leg kicks, I was waiting for his foot to snap. I have seen him throw a ton of monster kicks. He threw every kick in the book, inside, outside leg, front kicks.
Just controlled the fight with his leg kicks.
And just kept the distance. Yep. And that's why Cowboy at the end didn't look that battered and bruised, because the shots he did take, they were big shots.
Yeah, he took some shots to the
face, but they weren't repetitive.
That first round is too.
They didn't stay repetitive throughout 5 rounds. Al's nose and eyes just kept getting battered because that jab, that straight jab from Cerrone, man, when it hits, it's fucking stuck.
He was timing it well on movement by Al.
Movement and distance really helped Cerrone, and I think Cerrone stayed smart. And, he wanted the finish. He got on top several times and threw a lot of stuff. The punches just didn't land. Al obviously is tough as shit. The whole fight was entertaining. There was never more than 10 seconds where somebody was. I mean, Al come out in the beginning when he was like all slow and stuff, and Cerrone's like, we're going to play this.
Walkout music that night. Ja
Very
Rule.
Nice, yeah.
Ja Rule from New York.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, that dude's as New York as it gets.
Yeah.
But no, I think Al kind of fought a little different in the beginning, but still wanted to throw hands. And I mean, Cerrone's like, we can throw hands, I can throw legs, I can throw everything.
Yeah. Cerrone's just looked like he had a vast wealth of striking knowledge over Al. And Al was hitting hard.
And Al threw everything into it.
Al was hitting hard. It was just... Cerrone was completely controlling where the fight was taking place with his leg kicks.
Well, in that fight too, man, and I'm glad it didn't for the fans and myself in general because it kept a constant fight. That fight could have went a lot to the ground and a lot on the cage, grappling, clinching, a lot of tie knees, like we said, which, to them is big advantage in. But as far as watching the fight and seeing who's winning, it was just absolutely out in the open that Cowboy was piecing him up almost every round, and Al was tough as shit.
Yeah,
I think
he maybe took a round. I think Al took a round.
No, it was 4-1 on the rounds.
But
round 5, laid it on. Opening round, it was back and forth. But everything else, I mean, as far as significant strikes and touches, Cowboy had it. But the leg kicks just fucking started adding up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jesus, he probably had 20 leg kicks just on the left leg. So, I mean...
beat him up.
Yeah, he looked bad. But, I mean, again, we say it all the time, that doesn't hurt Al.
What do you think it does to Al? Where he goes from here?
Well, with him, I mean, maybe you can get into a situation where you're fighting some guys that aren't much lower than you because everybody else is pretty much wrapped up. I mean, you got RDA and Lee, you got Gaethje waiting for a fight here. Give him Barboza.
Yeah.
He's coming off the Gaethje loss. He's a name. He's fun to watch. Talk about leg kicks. You better be prepared. But Al,
who I think he should fight.
Gillespie.
Oh yeah, I just want to see this dude fight, man.
Yeah,
you're the same.
Gillespie.
I think Paul Felder also would be.
Paul
a good
Felder
good
wants to fight
for Iaquinta. I think that would be a good fight.
Back-to-back boys from the BMF ranch fighting you. It's a redemption fight for fucking Al. And then obviously Felder there commentated that fight, talked to Cerrone about it at the end, and Felder wants a fight. So why not? That's a great fight.
That's the fight I'd like to see the most.
Yeah.
I would love to see
Gregor Gillespie,
fight.
I want to see him fight in general too.
Yeah.
I think Greg is another fighter that he enjoys his family, he enjoys his fishing, he wants to spend time off. He's not a part-time fighter. He's not a guy that wants to fight every 3 months, and that's totally fine because have we had a disappointing fight from him? No.
I thought he said after last win he wanted to fight 3-4 times this year. Now it's been 3, 4, 5 months.
Yeah, but also, he might also be a very smart guy to look at this division and go, you know what, I might want to slow down and play my fights right because they've been offering him fights. He wants to fight that, fuck yeah. He is waiting on the right fight at the right time, and also he wants a fight that when he wins it, he either moves up a ton or he beats a monster name that puts a ton of money in his bank. Because... okay, Cerrone on this fight.
Cerrone made those in the lightweight division.
Cerrone made less money on this fight after everything was said and done, as far as even with the $50K bonus because this was a fight night, than he did against Alex Hernandez. He made more money against Alex Hernandez than this. But now you're going to have guys like Al that just had a huge monster fight and loss like that. Makes complete sense to go and fight somebody like that. And Paul Felder, same thing. He's there available. Edson's coming off that loss. It wasn't like it was a shitty loss. And I think the Al Edson would be fun because Edson loves to throw legs. Al was very susceptible to him. Same time, Al loves to throw hands. Edson's not the best on the feet a lot of times unless he's throwing spinning wheel kicks and shit. So that's not going to be a disappointing fight. I can sure as fuck tell you that's not going the distance. But again, this division, I mean, it's all about placement and timing. I mean, Gaethje wants a fight bad, so, I'd love for fucking Pettis to get lined up with Gaethje. I think that would be...
What about Cowboy? What does this fight do for him? I think this is a huge win for him.
Oh, it's monstrous.
I think this is the biggest win of his career potentially.
Well, in
terms of where it could go from here. I think he's got like 3 options, and the options are all awesome.
What do you got for him? What do you think on your
I think
base?
that this win makes a fight against Conor way more likely.
Yeah, than Alex. Because Alex is a new fighter that he beat the dog shit out of, but wasn't a name, was a new fight coming in.
Yeah,
Alex Hernandez.
Al was like a top 5 guy.
No, Alex Hernandez.
Yeah, I know. And now we're moving on to Al.
Stock went way up.
Right.
That's what I'm meaning, yeah.
I think
before it did make sense.
You look at the guy who's ranked right in front of Al, it's Conor. Yeah. So I think that this fight makes that fight way more likely. I think the other 2 fights that could generate from this are Gaethje and Tony Ferguson.
Yep.
Because both of those guys are kind of like the odd men out right now who are, I mean, we just won enough to get to a number 1 contender spot. So.
And Tony's getting his shit cleaned up. He actually met today with his new management staff with the UFC in Vegas. He's trying to talk about what we can do, talk about the situation. I have no idea what they're talking about, but him being active out in society is great. Yeah, Conor makes the most sense because he's been calling him out. That's an absolute money fight from God knows when, any of it. And Tony also, I love that fight. I mean, geez, how many people...
that is going to be so
How
fun.
many people have talked about for years they'd love to get when Cowboy was fighting at welter, that they wanted him to come back to lightweight and fight Tony. That's a fucking fight. So, yeah, everybody there makes sense. I just think for Cowboy... he wants to fight now. He wants that belt. So it's got to be somebody that wants to sign that dotted line right now.
I think one of those 3 will jump at it.
I don't think Gaethje will. I think Gaethje is absolutely butthurt about a lot of stuff in that division. I think he thinks he's ranked higher and he should be already fighting, the bigger guys. Because
he beat James Vick.
Because he beat James Vick, which makes no sense because you lost back-to-back.
Yeah, you didn't beat anyone good, man.
The UFC,
Barbosa is a huge win. But
the UFC gave him a chance and said, here's Dustin Poirier and here's Eddie Alvarez. You didn't show up because you want to have a brawl with him. Okay, well, one now has the belt and one has left the organization. Now you got to fall back into reality of let's fight guys that are at your caliber. Edson Barboza could have beat his legs from out inside of him and finished him. Gaethje got him on the right night, just like James Vick. James Vick could have pieced up Gaethje too. The length of him, these are all fights that they went the way they did. You can't do MMA science. But Gaethje is still got to wait for that one last fight before he can go fight for the title.
Yeah, but I think the same way with Conor's in the same spot. I think Conor gets one win against one of these guys that I just mentioned, Gaethje, Tony, or
and no
Conor,
one's going to give him
and then
shit.
He instantly gets a shot at the title.
Yep. I think in Conor's best interest right now is you start training even harder and you tell Cowboy, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Because guess what? If I make you look like a fool when you said you could match up with me and fight me in the ring that I've told you that you have no chance, there's no excuse for me not to go fight for the title again. And then guess what? Cowboy's not really going to lose that much stock either because he goes, you just fought Conor McGregor. You're 36 years old and you just jumped back into the lightweight division at 35 years old when you fought welterweight for almost 2 years. No one's really going to be mad at that.
No,
Everyone's excited about
everyone
it.
wants to see Cowboy fight all the time.
Yeah.
That's how he got
My favorite fighter of all time, man. Cowboy's the only fighter I would ever watch if I only had one fighter to watch.
Moving on from the main event, Cub Swanson, Shane Burgos was a hell of a fight. Shane Burgos looked good. I just thought he looked dominant.
Closest fight
it was a close fight. They were both landing shots. I mean, one ref scored at 30-27 Cub. One ref scored at 30-27 Burgos. I don't know how you'd score either of those, actually.
That's one of the closest fights I've seen as far as strikes in total, significant strikes in total, to where, and no takedowns, no sub attempts, no knockdowns. Everything was punch-related action. I think Shane just made it look a little bit nastier than Cub did.
He was longer, and I think he really made that the difference.
Yep, that's a very good call.
I really think that was the difference, but it was the difference. I mean, I thought Shane definitely was the winner of that fight. I don't know what Cub does now. This is his fourth loss. He's definitely not going to be ranked after 4 consecutive losses. That can't be happening.
I think he's Artem Lobov right now in that division. I think he drops out of the top 15, like you said, and I think he has to fight one more guy that's unranked, and if he loses, unfortunately, he'll be released. I think he has to fight and prove that his fights are always entertaining. That's never a question, but when you had the T-City fight that just ruined him, and then you went on from there and had Frankie Edgar decision, you went into Renata, and none of them are like him just getting absolutely knocked out every fucking time. They're big guys.
Look at the 3 names you just said. I mean, they're ranked
I get that.
2, 3, and 5.
But Shane is not a good loss right now after having already 3 losses before that.
I think people might be waking up to Shane.
That's my point.
Yeah,
I think they realize.
I don't know if Shane's a terrible loss. I think it's enough to get you out. I mean, you can't be ranked anymore.
It's a terrible loss when you already had 3 losses.
Yeah, it's not good timing for that loss.
So I don't think he gets cut. I know I always joke about it and stuff like that. I think for him is he has to go and fight another tough guy that's maybe a top 20. And
I mean, he's not going to be ranked. He should be fighting someone.
They're all fun fights. I mean, fuck, that's the thing. And you know what?
Look at all these guys on here.
If they wanted, I mean, you have fights that have been making sense. Like, I love the Renata fight versus the Korean Zombie. That just makes so much sense. Let Cub come down and beat the dog shit out of somebody and then come back up and fight one of those guys. Or go fight fucking Yair. I mean...
there's so many fights to make.
Get these cool guys. I mean, the featherweight division is so fun. I mean, it's just so fun right now. And they're not log jammed. They got guys trading and moving around. So it's awesome. And especially with Max up at the top that just come off Poirier, it's even more entertaining.
Yeah, he's going to be wanting to fight.
Everybody's going to want to fight him, and he now wants to fight. And guess what, everybody? What I said before. Let's see how Max recovers from a loss.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
The co-main event was Derek Brunson and Elias Theodorou. I thought that was the worst fight of the night.
Yeah,
there was not a whole lot happened. I wouldn't have argued with the decision going either way.
No.
I definitely would have given it to Brunson just because Elias seemed to be running around more than he was trying to fight him.
He's not the aggressor, and he normally isn't. He's such a technical, very tacticianer on certain stuff, but he was wiping his foot on Brunson's
when you fight
shorts.
That way, you better finish him because it's tough to get a decision fighting that way.
I mean, it's just so lackadaisical. And Brunson, we know, is obviously had some tough losses, but they've been against big guys.
He always tries to come out and knock you out.
He always is trying to put you out. So you sure as hell don't want to go against a guy that's a headhunter and look like you're just running around the ring.
Yeah.
I agree with it. That really made me take a lot of stock out of Elias. I liked him. I thought. Yeah, he wasn't the flashiest guy, but I think it really made him look... He looked fucking like he wasn't prepared. It looked like he was just doing anything to not get touched and never do anything to take away from Brunson. Brunson basically just walked around until he could throw a shot.
Yeah, it was, like I said, my least favorite fight of the night. Brunson is now coming off a win. He needed it. He's a top 10 middleweight. I'm looking at if Jared Cannonier beats Anderson Silva, or if Antonio Carlos Jr. beats Heinisch, maybe that's a good fight for him.
Yeah.
He's already fought a lot of the guys up there.
He's touched a lot of guys.
I'd like to see him fight someone new, get another win, and then to go try and avenge some of his losses, because he's got some losses.
There you go.
To avenge up there.
That's a very good way to put it.
I think he needs another win first.
Yeah, and I think he needs I like a Brad Tavares a lot against him. I think that's a fun fight. Two guys that like to throw hands. I know Brad just came off the Israel loss, and then obviously Brunson did 2 fights ago. I like that fight actually the best, because honestly, Brad Tavares was cleaning that fucking division up there for a while.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
So, because I agree with you, if Cannonier beats Silva, it's a stock helper, but it's also, like we've said before,
you're holding serve, really.
You're holding exactly where you're going to be at. You beat a 3-year-old Anderson Silva. Okay, great. Let's go and move up just a tick. And also by then, you'll get to see how many other fights are available because of who's lost, who's not. But yeah, it kind of sucks to see Derek Brunson, who should have came out and tried to take his head off, not really take advantage of it.
Yeah, so that fight went the distance.
What'd you think about your Ultimate Fighter tough Brad Katona getting his first loss, man? It's amazing seeing somebody that takes all your tools out of your toolbox and says, let's lay on the ground.
He had nothing. He was on the defense the entire time. It was tough. You think having John Kavanaugh not there played a role?
I mean, it could have. I mean, Brad Katona looked very frustrated and lost because Merab was basically using his experience, taking the shots, waiting, getting him on the ground and keeping him there, and then not letting him do anything he normally does. And then, by the way, also scoring points with leg kicks, elbows.
Yeah. Brad Katona was just never, ever on the offense. It seemed like it's always had to be, he was on his ass.
He just looked frustrated.
Yeah.
And I would have been too. Trust me, a guy that's usually used to dominating or throwing a big shot, I'd be frustrated too. But there's the tier level change.
Yeah.
This is a veteran guy that's been around a long time. He said, hey, you can do all you did with all the young guns on tough. Come on into the ring that I've been in fighting a lot, and I've had a lot of big wins, a lot of shitty wins. So, yeah, does it suck for Brad getting his first loss? Yeah, he's still got a contract. That's a fun division to fight in.
He's doing well.
And especially with the flyweight division possibly going away, he's going to have a ton of names that are going to bleed over that'll be re-signed as bantams that he can fight and climb up and get a lot of momentum back.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be a lot new bantams if that division goes under. So yeah, he's still in good shape. There's just you got to lose at some point so you can learn better.
Yes.
So and this is a good opportunity to learn. What do you think of the other tough champion, Macy?
Man, she looked great. I was scared in the beginning because that girl come out.
She's moving up that division pretty well.
She's got a very long reach. She's got her weight under control because the weight cutting has been a little tough for her. I mean, that's a big girl. That's a lot of weight cut to drop down into.
She's 10 pounds lighter than she was on the show.
No, I know. That's my point. Is I'm worried that change. She actually looks fucking better, to be honest with you. But when they came out, obviously. When Sarah came out, I thought that she was going to be way more aggressive and maybe get to the ground, keep Macy down so she can't use her hands like she does, using the subs. But once that mount came in, Macy just said, okay, fuck you, it's over. And I'm just going to pour it on. And she just stayed on top of it, kept going and going. And I think that's a monster win for her. She is making a name in that division. She's brand new. She's from the Tough Show too, so that's cool. It's somebody that people have seen recently. So I think that's a really big win, especially having a TKO in a women's division, man, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Big win. She's calling out a top 10 opponent. I think she gets one. She might be top 10 after this.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take long for her to be there.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Most of her fights haven't even gone the distance in the women's division. That's not typical.
No.
So she's got a bright future in front of her. One fight I definitely want to talk about is Walt Harris's return.
Yeah.
He needs a ranked fighter right now.
That was a hell of a return.
He was way better than Sergey. So
another
Walt Harris is coming off that loss to Curtis Blades. I'd love to see Justin Willis beat up Walt.
He wants to fuck Justin Willis up.
Yeah, I'd love to see Walt Harris beat up Justin Willis.
He goes, he's not that good. He's just fat. I'm like, yeah, I'll agree with you. I mean, and I kind of agree with Walt because that USADA pop sucked. Even though it was a 4-month ban, that sucks because Walt, even after that loss, was doing big things in that division. I like the size of that guy. I like the way he is. He's a bigger...
The way he handles, I just like everything about him.
Yeah, he's a bigger Curtis Blades that doesn't want to wrestle all the time. He just wants to put those hands on you. And I'm about that, especially in that division.
So he was supposed to fight Alexei Olenek this fight, and then Alexei stepped in against Alistair because Volkov had to drop out.
Yeah, to drop out.
Walt Harris says he wants that fight back, which I'd love to see that fight. I think Alexei might be facing like a 6-month medical suspension after that beatdown he took against Alistair.
That's a lot of knees.
So I'm down for that fight for sure. But if that doesn't happen, I'd love to see Justin Willis get his ass kicked again.
I think after what we talked about last time with Justin Willis getting just smothered and shown with cardio and wrestling how it can take over, let's have the other aspect of letting Justin Willis throw hands with another guy that loves to throw hands, and let's see what really happens, because I don't think the outcome's going to be what Justin Willis thinks. That fucking right and just back and forth with Walt Harris, that was scary.
Oh, yeah.
That is some
Landed
power.
Some big ones. You got anything else from this past weekend?
You know, I basically we covered everything in there. I mean, I threw that Andrew Sanchez card in there. I know that's 2 unranked guys. Those guys went to war. Andrew got rocked.
It was a tough fight. So this is a fight that I think if you're watching and you don't know how it scored and you say, you tell me who win this fight, I'm telling you Marc-Andre Barriault won that fight because he did way more damage.
Way more damage. Andrew was hurt a lot. And you know what didn't help Andrew is I've watched his other fights. He gets gassed early and looks gassed. So he moves slow. But what did he do when he got tired? He got into the grappling. He got into the clinch.
He was able to get
took time to get takedowns, and he scored the points where he needed to. And trust me, I'm with you.
Well,
this could have went either way.
He didn't get all the takedowns.
No, he didn't.
The other thing is, like, a lot of times he was being the aggressor trying to take the takedown, and Marc-Andre was just preventing him from getting
away.
the takedown. So he's on defense, but he's also stopping his offense. It would have been a tough one to score. I would agree with the judges. I think Sanchez won the first and the third. Based on how I'm told it, you're supposed to score it. But Marc-Andre won the second by a whole lot more.
He touched him up a ton, and he hurt him bad. I mean, even Andrew said, he goes, I was fucking rocked. I mean, and that was a big shot. I mean, and I think that's a cool fight for Marc-Andre to obviously get shown that he can get out there and throw it around.
Yeah, I think that was his first fight in the UFC. I'm sure they'll give him another opportunity.
Yeah, that was his debut,
he was trying to bang. You could tell he wasn't trying to grapple, so... And when he was banging, he was hitting hard. Man, some of those uppercuts were fucking monster uppercuts.
Well, and I'll tell you what is...
Sanchez's head was bobbing all over
Sanchez
the place
didn't need to lose that fight because that probably would have been a release because he's had a lot of losses.
Yeah.
And he's been around a minute. I mean, there's been a lot of guys in his same situation that even with a win would have been cut. So that's big for him.
That second round, maybe it was a 10-8 round, to be honest, because there were several times where I thought that he could have gone out. His head was just bouncing.
He just gets gassed so easy, man. I thought he'd have a better tank in that division, but who knows?
So that's the last 3 weekends.
Yeah.
Big
caught
cards.
up on all that.
We'll see change of the guards here in the top-ish of some divisions, so that'll be fun. How they move with lightweight moving forward is going to be fun. But we'd like to finish our discussions through the divisions in the UFC with the women's divisions. So this summer there's a bunch of large women's divisions fights going down in the UFC. Just this weekend, Thug Rose is fighting to defend her title against Jessica Andrade. We got Valentina Shevchenko fighting in June against Jessica Ai. And then the bantamweight and featherweight divisions are both held by Amanda Nunes. And she said she wants to defend the featherweight first and then go back down and then defend the bantamweight.
Don't blame her.
So Holly Holmes fighting against... I guess I got those backwards. Holly Holmes fighting to challenge for the bantamweight belt at Fight Week in July.
Yes.
So she said she wants to defend her featherweight belt after that. But yeah, so there's going to be a bunch of highly ranked women fighting here in the next couple of months. I guess the first thing is, do you see before the end of this year any of these champions changing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I love Thug Rose to death. I'm wearing her shirt right now. Shout out to Rose. But this is a fight with Andrade that this is what everyone says. This is the biggest fight she'll ever have because this is a different opponent. Joanna at one time was the scariest woman in that strawweight division that all the girls feared to fight. She was dominating as shit. Rose came along and dethroned her.
And then did it again.
Even though I'm very realistic on fights. That fight could have went either way. Joanna could have got that back. Rose had enough to get it by. Joanna was a different fighter. She had never been stopped like that. She comes back to try to get her belt back. Rose's first defense ever. Rose has had some time off. She's been training hard. I've been seeing a lot of her videos. She's got a great mindset about fighting. Andrade is just a nasty pit bull that wants to go in there and just throw it around, absolutely do anything to take your chin off, but she's also smart. She's a Brazilian. She will get you down on the ground and put you.
She does not stop.
And she does not stop. If you look at her fight against Claudia, they did not stop. That was a bloodbath. And that was a great fight for both girls. Claudia fought her ass off too. At the same time, look what she just did to Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Put her out in that division in strawweight. Knocked her the fuck out and made her cry. That is something that Rose has not fought against yet in this division. I don't think that she can't handle it, but if you want to talk about a belt that has its biggest chance of being traded right now to somebody with a new waist, it's the strawweight.
I think it is the strawweight belt, but I don't want it to sound like Thug's the weakest of these champions.
No.
She killed the boogeyman. She knocked out Joanna and then beat her again.
Made her tap.
It's just, I think there's a whole lot more talent right now at the top of the strawweight division. It's just you got Jessica Andrade coming right back. Tatiana Suarez is making her way up. She's fighting Nina Ansaroff, and that's
winning
probably the next title contender. And you still have Joanna in that division. I just think that the opportunities are like every fight that Rose is going to have is going to be a tough fight, and it's going to be hard to get through all of them. So I think that's the one I think is most likely to turn over.
Well, I can tell you right now, too, is Joanna is not going to, one, not see Rose again at some point, and two, Joanna found out real quick that you can't go up to flyweight. She's not made for flyweight.
Well,
so she's going to stay in strawweight.
Valentina. I mean, she could be a very successful flyweight. She just isn't going to beat Valentina.
No, but I think her fighting style and how she is fought in the weight cut does not ever seem to be a problem.
Yeah,
stay in strawweight where you should be.
But
no, I'm agreeing with you. I think Tatiana Suarez, honestly, I think she is in contention to possibly take that belt in 2020 if she keeps on the roll that she's going with. I mean, she's on a 7-fight winning streak, and she's not fighting any slouches. What you said, though, is this division compared to 2 years ago, there's just monsters everywhere. Compared to, you had Joanna, and you had about 3 contenders like Claudia, Carla Esparza, Rose, and that's about it that even had a chance. Everybody's got a chance. Weil Zhang coming out of nowhere with an 18-fight fucking winning streak, and granted, 3 of those are only in the UFC. She is making a name. Beating Tisha Torres. Tisha Torres is no cupcake. That's a tough fight, no matter what you want to look at her record. And then Claudia is always there. Claudia is back and forth, back and forth. Claudia could have won against Nina. Claudia could be fighting Tatiana right now and then fighting for the belt after.
Yeah, I think those top, at least the champion in the top 4, I would say they could fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of them won.
No.
Any given day. So I think that is the toughest one to hold on to.
It's such a fun
Thug's the youngest one in that group.
Yeah. That's
great.
the fun part, is she's the youngest one in that group, so no matter what happens, she has plenty of time to continue to do big things in that division. You got to remember, this division wasn't around even 8 years ago. I mean, that's the thing, is this is such a fun division, and then this broke in the flyweight division. You know, you have the bantam and you have the featherweight that, featherweight's, good God. You got girls out there begging for other girls to bring these big girls in. Yeah. Strawweight and flyweight right now are perfect to continue to just feed the mill.
Flyweight division's kind of weak, to be honest. Strawweight and bantamweight are really where it's at.
Well, but flyweight's new.
Flyweight is new.
It's becoming its own. You're going to have a lot of girls here after a while say, I'm sick and tired of cutting down to 115. I'm going to 125, because there's plenty of big girls in 115 at strawweight that could easily fight at flyweight and fuck a lot of girls up.
So, at flyweight, Valentina Shevchenko is the champion. She's fighting Jessica Ai in June. Also on that card is Caitlin Chukagian and Joanne Calderwood.
Yeah.
So big day for the
huge
flyweight division. I think Valentina comes out of that as the champion. She just, man, I'm telling you what, she's
a bulldog.
Built.
She's just a bulldog.
Freaking built.
And she is all about training, repetition. She is muscle memory. If you see her, everything she does is so smooth. It's so natural. Jessica Ai's been around a minute, man. She has fought a lot of big girls. She is just in the place right now to fight Valentina because she beat Cokagan. Jessica Clark, who just got injured, who is not fighting now. You know, she beat Beth Correa back in the day. You got a lot of big names, or I'm sorry, she lost to her. She's got big names that she's lost to and won. It makes sense for her now, but I'm excited for the other girls coming up because I love Joanna Calderwood. She's been around. I watched her on Tough. I think that's another girl that all of a sudden we're talking about coming up into here.
So Macy Barber's coming up in this division?
Macy Barber, I think that is a mini Connor in that division that you could have. Because she wants to fuck up every pretty girl's face in that, butchered your face. That's what she wants to do, is she wants to make people young. She wants to make, talking about, crap, I just forgot her name here a minute ago. Paige. She wants to fuck up Paige's face. She wants to fight.
Messed up.
It is, but she wants to fight and make a name for herself in this division because she is nasty. She's just grimy, wants to hurt you, get the elbows in.
She's got some room to improve, that's for sure. She does. She's got power too.
But every girl, almost every girl in this division has either moved over from strawweight or is new to this division. They're learning the same. Montana, I love her to death. She's on a 4-fight winning streak. That's a girl in 2 more wins could be fighting for the belt. Montaria De La Rosa.
Yeah.
She has been terrific in that division. I mean, there is a lot of good names. It's just not a lot of these girls have got to fight at flyweight. They just haven't had the opportunity.
Right.
They're so new.
Still new. Right.
You know, Cokagan, she's another name that people don't talk about, but she was doing well there for a while. I mean, this is just another division that, yeah, is it kind of a John Jones situation at the top of Valentina? Yeah, but at the same time, all the fights below are fun.
Yeah, I think we're getting a good number 1 contender on that same fight as she defends UFC 238 in Chicago with Calderwood and Chokagan fighting together. So that'll probably be the next contender. But outside of that, I think that Valentina has a better shot than Rose of maintaining her titles throughout the rest of the year. Then we get into the bigger girls, the bantamweight and the featherweight. Yeah. Featherweight doesn't even have rankings at this point because there's not enough girls to rank.
There's not enough girls to rank. I mean, it's a shame.
Amanda Nunes is the champion of both.
Yep. Megan Anderson needs a fight.
She's fighting.
No. Did they get that announced? I didn't see that.
Yeah, she is fighting. Let me see. She may be fighting very soon, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
she's fighting next week on the 18th.
That shows where I'm keeping up on her with. No, and that's the thing is I have not paid attention to anything in featherweight because everything bantamweight down has been active.
Yeah, she's begging for fights.
Good.
Aspen Ladd's fighting next week as well. So,
I love Aspen.
So that's a big one for the bantamweight division.
Yep. I think Aspen Ladd has a ton of potential to do some damage in that division. I really do.
I think so. She's supposed to fight Holly Holm. That was going to be a huge fight for her. Now Holly's getting the title shot. But Aspen Ladd's been doing well lately. We just had Macy now just joined the UFC, and she's been killing it ever since she has. So she's working up the division.
Got to get Yana. I know she just fought, but we got to get her a fight. She's fun to watch. She's a pretty girl. That's a good one for them to get people involved in. Sarah McMahon just had a baby, so she's recovering, getting back into the game there. Beth is getting ready to fight this weekend at 237. That is a monster fight for a girl like that because this girl got cleaned up by Ronda Rousey, had an unreal head switch kick from Holly Holm, had a draw in the middle of all of that, and lost to Raquel Pennington before, who we know is tough as nails. This girl is always just looks scary and freaky. She needs to get a fucking win because after this, there's no reason to keep her in a division like bantamweight that is all killers. You can't look killer, you got to come out killer because Macy, you don't want to let her go up against someone hungry as Macy if she fucking loses this because she's going to take her face off and then move right up the rankings. But I think, honestly, in that division, that's another division that you might see some girls fluctuate weights. If they can make it. Because, Holly's done it for a while. Yeah.
Who knows if there's a future for featherweight?
That's what I just want to bring up is the featherweight scares me so much, but someone like Megan Anderson can't cut to 135. I mean, that's a monster woman.
Featherweight fighter.
You know, so I'm glad to see that she got a fight. In the women right now, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity. It's just, it's so new for that division. These divisions have not been around that long, even back to the Rousey days. There was no structure. It was go fight Rousey, fuck it, go fight Rousey.
Right. So yeah, I think the featherweight division is the least likely to get to have a change in champion before the end of the year, because Amanda Nunes she's like we said, she's fighting Holly Holm in July for the bantamweight division.
Yep.
Maybe gives her one opportunity to fight for a featherweight title. I don't know. I mean, maybe Megan Anderson, I guess, if she gets this win.
Or they give
her Chris Cyborg a rematch. There's just
and it also depends on what Cyborg wants to do. Cyborg, we know it's been tough to get her to fight. She wants the perfect fight, and she got the perfect fight against Amanda, and it didn't work out finally in her favor. So we'll see how she regroups after getting knocked out by Amanda. You got to put that into factor too. Mm-hmm. Girls in the fighting, you have to realize that these girls don't want to get in and fight 3-4 times a year like some of the guys, especially when they have fights like that.
Yeah, and there's other interests too. I mean, maybe they want to be mothers. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that gets in the way.
Yeah, so. Mackenzie Dern, you got that. You got Sarah
stepping away.
Yeah, you got, like I just said, Sarah McMahon. You had Paige Van Sant break her arm again. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can happen.
Shit goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I as far as girl fights in the UFC, I mean, I give them shit, but these championship fights are always entertaining. They're always great, and a lot of emotion, and some of the best fights I've seen.
Yep. Whether decision or not. A lot of women fights go to decision, but
Holly Holm punching when she's getting choked out.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that's
shit
stuff.
like that. I mean,
that's good stuff.
Just the amount of women fighters that want to fight in general, I think is awesome, because you get a Macy Barber. This is a young gun coming in, wants to just tear people's faces off. Then you have a lot of women, too, that they actually just love the sport. Like a Holly Holm. She truly enjoys being a martial artist. She does not want to hurt somebody. She just wants to win. She has that spirit. There's so many different types of fighter in the women's, and like you said, a lot of emotion, a lot of different style fighters, so I think that's the cool part.
So with that, we're going to get into this weekend's card, give you a couple predictions.
237.
Happen. This is UFC 237 in Rio,
Brazil.
It's featuring Brazilian, I believe, on every single fight. Not every fight, but
pretty
a
damn
lot of
close.
fights. Yeah, a lot of fights. So a lot of featured Brazilians. Headlined by Rose and Jessica Andrade. We got Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, Thiago Alves, Francisco Trinaldo. Rogerio Nogueira is fighting.
I know, man.
So yeah, lots of Beth Correa, another
Beth
Brazilian
we just
fighter.
talked about. Yep.
And then of course BJ Penn and Clay Guida. Who dug those guys out.
Real Brazilian.
Yep. So not the strongest card, but I think it'll be entertaining. Like I said, we've got a lot of legendary Brazilian fighters on it.
Yep.
So let's start with the main event.
Yeah. We just talked about it. If anybody knows me, I've always followed Rose. I love Rose. I think everything about her is what a lot of women fighters need to look at. She's very calm, humble. She's about fun fighting, but she fights her ass off and wants to win. She's fighting somebody completely fucking different in their home country that wants to kill you, do everything to take that belt, humiliate you, and then, by the way, I'm now the champion. I'm going for Rose because I think Rose is smart enough to know this just like I do. I know that Jessica lands one right punch on Rose. It's not like Joanna. But same time, Rose knows how to play games and stay away. Rose has not been knocked out. Not trying to jinx her, but I think Rose will stay away from the hands as much as she can. I personally think Rose will play her game until she can get into a situation with a little grappling or maybe a little bit of clinch that she can hopefully sneak in on the ground, some type of sub on Andrade, which is going to be fucking tough because Andrade is a shit brick house to be able to get around her neck or get around her arm. But I think that is my prediction, that she will end up getting some sub later in the rounds to just bide her time for Andrade.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's the biting time thing. Is can she get it before Andrade connects?
Yeah.
And my thinking is that Andrade is going to land one that finishes or puts her
comes out fast.
Puts her in a position to finish the fight. before the end of the fight, or
Yep.
before Rose stops her. So I am
And I can agree with that.
very interested in watching this fight.
Yep.
I love both of these fighters. I just think every time I watch Jessica Andrade fight, I think, man, I want to see her fight again.
And I don't want to fight her because that's
Yeah,
an angry
yeah,
woman.
don't
I can
sign
tell
me
you
up
right
for
now,
that.
she comes up to my waist, but I'm not fighting her
She
because
does
that
not
girl
stop.
is nasty.
She throws heat all
Yes.
the time.
Yep.
Co-main event is Anderson Silva and Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier is a favorite going to Brazil to fight the legend Anderson Silva. We talked about this a little while back, and my personal feeling is that I think Anderson Silva is going to play safe.
Do you?
Look for shots, but try and stay out of danger. The fight that comes to mind, I think, is like the Cormier fight, where he just... I guess Cormier was also playing it safe, but I think Anderson Silva is going to try and not get knocked out.
I'll play the devil's advocate on this because this is what I'm hoping, not just for myself, but just for in general, is this is in Brazil. This could possibly be Anderson's last
Could
fight.
possibly be. That is definitely why I'm going to be watching this card.
Coming off the Israel loss. The reason I picked Anderson to win on a decision here is because I truly think Israel was such a high-level fighter that Anderson still said, hey, I may be the older pup here in the yard, but I can still play the same games as you. And he made sure that he did not get finished by a guy that is known for finishing. I do not think Jared Cannonier is even close to Israel Adesanya.
I don't think
now.
Anderson Silva is going to get finished.
I don't think he's going to get finished either. I think Anderson may play a point game. I think he will literally do enough to get the points, frustrate Jared to where Jared might do stupid shit because all in his mind is, I got to finish Anderson Silva on his last fight.
Set the trap, lay the web.
The
spider strikes again.
And then how big of a fucking story would that to be? Hey, who was your last fight? Oh, I actually retired Anderson Silva. I don't know if you know him. I don't care what age he is.
Yeah.
But I think Anderson Silva does play that game.
I'd love it.
If it happens, we're all winning. But yeah, I get it on your end too. I mean, I'll have to agree. These are some strange matchups than we're used to. And I think that's even the more fun about it is because it really is up in the air.
Anything with Anderson Silva is strange.
You never know.
I always remember him as he was 10 years ago. Just
the Vitor
running
Belfort,
through people.
The knockout with
15 years ago,
with the kick in the face, the front kick in the face. No one would have ever expected that nor talked about that happening because Vitor at that time was still TRT Vitor. The sheer fact that he did that and no one expected that, whether he was younger or not, he could do the same thing to Jared. So that's why I'm on him.
He is still a spider.
And at the same time, that guy just fighting in his home country to potentially be the last time. I want to root for him to make him go out on a good shield, not on a dead shield. So excited for that fight.
For that, we have a huge fight for the featherweight division: Jose Aldo and Alexander Volkanovski. Alexander Volkanovski's coming as the underdog in Brazil. Jose Aldo is Jose Aldo, man. He's lost to Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. And that's it.
Two ginormous names.
He is still that good. He's beaten everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm betting on him this weekend.
Nice. Good pick. How did I know you were going to do that? So, hilarious. I'm also betting on this fight, but I'm betting on the opposite end with Alexander Volkanovski. And the reason I'm doing that is because I think, for once, the speed, the momentum, and just overall the rope that Alexander is climbing right now might be a little too much for Jose. Yes, huge win over Jeremy Stephens with a liver-shattering knockout. Jeremy Stephens is not the caliber of some of the guys that Jose was fighting before. So I have to put that in perspective. I think the hungriness of Alexander, I think he goes in. I think he gets an early TKO finish in the second round just by going after Jose. I think what Jose did with Moicano, I think it's going to happen to Jose. I think he's going to go and cut him off, not let him get away.
It'd be a big change in the guard.
No, it's a huge change of the guard, but I think he's going to go in and say, I'm not going to let you get away from me. I'm going to put you down. So that is my bet also. So on the same fight.
Like
so that's awesome. That's good stuff.
Yep.
Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
That's good stuff.
Before that, Thiago Alves is fighting, Brazilian. against Loreno Staropoli.
Staropoli, yep.
That's a even fight. There's no favorites, no underdogs. We both picked Thiago Alves in this fight.
Yeah, you know why is because, again, another home country guy. I think that plays a huge factor. Thiago has had some recent wins, and I also think experience. Thiago has been in some big matchups. He's been around a long time. He's still a powerful guy. He's a little more technical now, so I think he actually gets him with a sub. I know you got him with a TKO in the second. I just don't know if Staropoli is going to have the experience to deal with someone like that. That's seen so many different types of fighters.
Been there so
many years.
Francisco Trinaldo is fighting Diego Ferreira. Francisco Trinaldo is a plus 135 underdog in that fight.
Another guy that's been around a long time.
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess I've been partial. I've been picking a bunch of these Brazilian fighters because I want to see them win. It seems like some of these guys might be the last time I see them fight. Definitely could be the last time I see them fight in Brazil.
Yeah, they could.
So maybe got some emotions involved. But Trinaldo's got some big wins in his previous fights, and so I see him winning here as well.
Yeah. So I had the opposite again. It seems to be a theme, but yeah, I think in that weight class, in the amount of fights that Trinaldo's had, he's had some really big wars, and I think Diego has some stronger hands. I don't think he's going to put him out. I think he's just going to touch him up enough and get enough points, or he might control the fight just in general. So I actually have Diego winning by decision on that. So it's fun to see, man. You and me are going to be having a lot of fights we're going to be talking some shit about depending on the outcome.
Yeah, and this is here's another one, light heavyweight division. Rogerio Nogueira is fighting again. This is like what I'm saying. This is Brazilian, potentially the last fight I ever see him fight.
Yeah.
And I'll throw my money on him as an underdog.
Yeah, Little Nog. I mean, Big Nog and Little Nog, man, have been a staple in the UFC, and I think I like that. I like that bet a lot because what he did to Sam Alvey, whether that was a back of the head punch or not, man was 40 years old, knocked out Sam Alvey, who has also been in the UFC a very long time. So I like that bet. I'm going to go with the under. I'm going to go with a little bit of the youthfulness, a little bit maybe stronger power. I'm going to take Ryan. I'm going to take Ryan with a TKO in the first. Not with a bet, just with my prediction.
Yep, correct. Irene Aldana and Beth Gahea are fighting. Beth Gahea at home is a huge underdog in the 210 underdog.
Well, with her record, it makes sense.
Yeah. And we both have her losing this fight.
It's just really hard for me to get behind her because I think from the Ronda Rousey knockout to the Holly Holm knockout to the draw that she had with Renee, I just don't think that she is the caliber that needs to stay in that division anymore. And I think someone hungry like Aldana that's coming up the rankings, she's top 10. I think that she just puts her away, and that's a huge stepping stone to say, hey, here's a name that's been around a while. Get out of here. I'm on to the next.
And we both have Clay Guida against BJ
the Carpenter.
Penn, because BJ Penn should not be... Not that Clay Guida should be fighting, but BJ Penn should not be fighting.
BJ Penn should be fighting. BJ Penn needs to be fighting middle of the ground, somewhat competent people. Not BJ Penn that retire. Well, it's just... I think with the BJ Penn, he has lost, I looked up today, he's lost like his last 5 fights.
He wants to go out on a win.
And he wants to go out on a win, which is great. I don't think going against Clay Guida, who went against Diego Sanchez and just wanted to throw every fucking hand that he had available in 40 seconds, that's not going to go well for BJ. BJ had his knee almost turned inside out by Ryan Hall. Now you're going to go against a guy like Yair Rodriguez, not as talented, but just wants to throw everything at you to hurt you.
Mindset.
I don't think it's going to go well. So we both have, I hope to see a TKO because maybe that'll wake up BJ, and maybe not. He might wake up in the hospital and realize it. But I love BJ, the legacy. You have fucked yourself with your last 4 fights. If he wouldn't have he's almost going to go under 500 if he loses this.
Yeah,
you can't do this
his legacy.
To his legacy. The things that this guy did, the games have changed. Two-weight champion that tried to be a 3-weight champion. He wanted to fight at heavyweight at one point, and they said, "Are you fucking out of your mind?" Like, this is a guy that has done amazing things for the UFC. Don't taint it by just taking a fight because you couldn't scratch the itch. And I hope this isn't due to what we talked about before with the possible drug addiction, the abuse.
Hopefully it's not just doing it for money, because that's a...
Yeah, I really don't.
Fighting because you need the money.
Yep.
At that age, at least. And then another big fight in the women's bantamweight division, Talita Bernardo and Melissa Gatto.
So this is actually my pick.
So you're taking the big underdog, plus 325 with Melissa Gatto.
So I am, because I've actually been following her lately, and this is something that we always talk about, underdogs to look to watch. I think that this girl has a lot of the tools to come into that bantamweight division with just overall her background. I've seen some of her fights. I like them a lot. I'm not saying that Talita cannot use her experience either, but Talita has not had the best record in the UFC either. So everyone talks about jitters, debuts, all that. I'm pushing that aside and looking at what we've been talking about today. This girl has a ton of opportunity, Jack Hermanson style in front of her. I think she capitalizes and does it. No knockout, no sub. I think she just gets with a flat decision, just staying alive and doing the right things. Nice. So that's the two bets.
And then let's go ahead and take a look at the May 18th card.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's the Rochester card.
Yes.
Kevin Lee and RDA headline that.
This is a nice card.
It is a nice card.
This is a nice card.
Kevin Lee is going to be fighting his first fight in the welterweight division against RDA.
Thank God came around, Kevin.
I think right now I think he's a betting favorite, which to me is very surprising. I'm going to pick RDA in this fight for sure. But this is an intriguing fight. We'll see what he looks like as a welterweight.
This could speak volumes to Kevin doing a very similar middleweight to lightweight that we talk about all the time. This could be for him going to lightweight to welterweight. RDA's experience and just level, it's going to be probably a wake-up call. But Kevin Lee is no slouch as far as picking you apart. That Tony Ferguson fight, he easily could have won that fight. Tony Ferguson is just another breed. I kind of like this, but I'm also very scared because if Kevin loses this fight, I'm really worried about his career. Because he's young, he's very marketable, he's well-spoken, he dresses flashy. Now you're going to be fighting guys that are nowhere in your caliber in the welterweight division for a while just to get back.
Yeah, he's going to have to do some serious
climbing.
He's
going to have to do some climbing. So he needs a monster win against a number 3. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm very shocked that RDA took this fight. But RDA probably knows maybe
RDA's
it's free money.
Welterweight.
No, he is.
Yeah.
I think he might know this is easy money. I think that's what RDA thinks in his head. So that's a firework fight.
I don't know if it's easy money, but I'd be picking RDA. Neil Magny and Vicente Luque co-headline this fight, or this card. And I've been looking forward to seeing Vicente Luque fight ever since his Brian Barberena fight. I'm hoping he has two contenders for Fight of the Year this year, and this is one of them. Because this would be a big one in the welterweight division if he can get a knockout against Neil Magny.
Well, Neil Magny, getting absolutely face planted after the Ponzinibbio fight, and then Vicente trying to climb up, and we all know we love watching Vicente. I mean, like you said, that Barboza fight, if that was anybody else's chin, they'd be out. Barboza happened, I can't always say his name right, but he literally took those shots. Barberena. I always think Barboza. Barberena took those shots, and then finally his chin couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah.
So Neil is coming off a loss. So I mean, this is going to be a fun fight.
Another big women's bantamweight fight. We got Aspen Ladd and Sijara Eubanks. So this is an opportunity for Aspen Ladd. If she wins this, she's a title contender.
I love her style. I love her personality, her training, her style. Like I said, it was unfortunate with the Holly Holm that she didn't get to fight Holly because I think that was a trampoline bounce if she would have beat Holly. But Sijara is not a name that anyone's going to say, oh my God, you beat her. But she's been a name around. She's been in the top for a while since she's come off tough. So the thing is, you beat someone like that, there's no excuse for someone to say, yep, come on up, let's do something big. Again, in the bantamweight, that is not a super, super deep division. So, you get somebody that beats somebody that high ranking, you got to give them an opportunity. And especially, the thing that worries me about Aspen is making the weight. I need her to make the weight. She's had weight problems before. I need her to make that weight because she beats someone as tough as Sarge. That's a problem.
In the middleweight division, we got Antonio Carlos Jr. against Ian Heinisch.
Heinisch, yep.
We talked about that earlier. If Antonio Carlos Jr. wins here, he's We're looking at maybe a fight to Derek Brunson, someone who is a top 10 fighter. If he loses, maybe Ian Heinisch is looking to make his run through.
He's looking good. Because Antonio I like too a lot, and I think that's another name that you don't hear enough. And yeah, you make a great point. A Derek Brunson would be a terrific fight for Antonio. Yeah, that's another one that we always joke about is someone could lose a lot and someone's going to win a lot.
And then in the lightweight division, number 14 ranked Charles Oliveira is fighting Nick Lentz. The lightweight division is so stacked. This is always a big opportunity for both fighters.
But Nick Lentz has already shown a lot of great fights already. I mean, that's a guy that, Charles Oliveira is fuck. He's fought some pretty monster guys. I mean, hell, he choked out Clay Guida, a year and a half ago. I mean, he's not fighting the highest caliber ever, but he's fighting some damn good guys. So, I mean, Nick Lentz happens to beat him. Nick Lentz is getting a number next to his name. There's no doubt.
Outside of those fights, we've got the women's featherweight fight we already spoke about, Megan Anderson and Felicia Spencer. Tough winner Mike Trezano is fighting Grant Dawson in the featherweight division. Danny Roberts is returning from his recent loss in London to fight Mike Pereira.
Yep.
Desmond Green is fighting.
I'm excited to see Desmond. After that last fight, I'm really interested to see what he does. Because Jordan is no slouch like we've talked about, so that's a fun fight to watch.
Anything else on this card? Any particularly interesting to you? I saw we have Patrick Cummins and Zach Cummins.
I was just going to... Yeah, not related. Yeah, it's spelled differently. But yeah, Patrick Cummins, that's another guy that I feel like a lot of people have hated on because he's a D1 wrestler. I mean, and terrific mustache when he has it.
Oh, yeah.
Terrific mustache. But... that's another guy that's fun to watch. Yeah, he's gotten knocked out a lot. That happens in that fucking division. Light heavyweights, it's heavyweights that learn to stay in shape. They're eating a Panera, man. I think there's a lot of guys and a lot of women on this card. Like, I love Megan Anderson. She's just covered in the tats. She's got the Australian accent. She's fucking big girl. She could be a new name that people are like, oh, this is a fun girl to find. Yeah. So, I mean, again, I know we say it a lot, but there's a lot of people on this card that do have a lot to lose. There's a lot of people that can get their name recognized too because Kevin Lee, perfect example, new to the weight division. Neil Magny, obviously coming off a loss. Vicente Aluque. Aspen Ladd's got opportunity out the ass. Everybody with a number next to their name on this card has a ton to win. And anybody that doesn't have a number next to their name is fighting somebody that's worthwhile. They're not taking a BJ Penn, Clay Guida fight. They're taking a fight that either moves them or drops them. That's it.
So that's May 18th. That's next weekend. As we said, headlined by Kevin Lee and RDA out of Rochester. So that'll be a great one. We'll go ahead and start wrapping it up here.
Yeah.
As we mentioned at the top, we are going to be ending the Liver Shot podcast.
Yeah.
We will be moving on to a new podcast called the Open Cut Podcast.
Yep.
Try and get to you on more platforms. Hopefully change it up, be a little bit more involved, and keep you guys into it as best we can.
Yeah, it's been bittersweet. It's been fun. The Liver Shot's always fun. Fun name. But yeah, it's going to be similar structure. Going to be doing the same thing. Our bets, covering fights, getting a little bit more relaxed into it. And we'll definitely keep everybody in the loop, get you guys the connection to find the new the Open Cut. I think you'll like the graphic on it also. Keep you definitely be able to find it online. So, hey, it's been fun on the Liver Shot, man. And I guess we'll...
more cheers?
Last cheers that we'll have.
Yep. Cheers.
See you.